opening. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Westborough Economic Development Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Westborough's website at www.town.westborough.ma.us. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so in the following manner: Westborough TV. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of Westborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay. I think Kristen introduced a new way to vote to get all members to vote to make a move to open the meeting. Kristen, do we have a roll call, or should we just say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have that sheet with all of the members listed?
Well, not in front of me. Okay. So I will begin with, I guess I'll throw off your attempts. I don't know, Zach, if you do.
I don't have it in front of me, no. Okay. And do we know if it's been updated to include Sean as well?
I have to add that.
Okay.
Okay, well, maybe we'll go ahead with our approach from the past. Sullivan, yes.
Steinberg, yes.
Robbins, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Townsend, yes.
EO, yes.
Leonardo, yes.
Williams, yes.
Sorry, yes.
Really, yes.
Okay. I guess actually we are, was that everyone then, I think actually that's what we need to do to approve the minutes, and we don't officially need to do that to open the meeting. So my error, but everyone has seen the minutes that Kristen had distributed, or Kristen had drafted and Zach distributed. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at them and review. And so now we're voting to approve the minutes. So that was where we needed to go. So I'll start that again. It's Sullivan, yes. A vote to approve the minutes. Sullivan, yes.
Robbins, yes.
Steinberg, yes.
EO, yes.
Leonardo,
yes.
oh, sorry. That was Alexander and Leonardo both said yes.
Okay.
Williams, yes.
Sorry, yes.
Really, yes.
Great. I believe that's everyone. So welcome to everyone. We have several items on our agenda, so we'll move right along. I think first, I didn't actually see Alan, but Alan was going to update us on the Board of Selectmen. I'm not sure, Alan, whether you and Sean had spoken.
Well, I know that Alan is moving off of this committee, I think, due to taking over the chair of the select board. And so I've happily volunteered to join this committee, and looking forward to being of service and seeing what I can do to help everybody here. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Sean. And we're certainly happy to have you join as a town selectman, and pleased to have you join the Economic Development Committee. So welcome aboard. Okay. On the EDC leadership, I am officially submitting my letter of resignation as of today to, I'll be stepping down as the chairman of the committee effective June 30th. And Todd Alexander will be stepping up as the chairman as of July 1st. So I'll be submitting that letter. I think that I'm certainly, I believe we may actually need to have a vote to accept the change in leadership with me stepping down, Todd stepping in, and then I believe our plan is to, in the weeks and months ahead, to identify a vice chairman to step into Todd's position.
Yeah, Bonnie, this is Christy. You would resign your position on the EDC.
Yes.
And then in July, at the first meeting in July, the committee will vote on who they want as chair and vice chair.
Oh, okay. All right. So I will resign effective June 30th. I have a letter drafted that I'll submit to the town clerk, and then we'll move ahead for the July meeting. So I just want to say, given this is my last formal meeting, it's kind of an emotional event for me because I've really enjoyed it. And it's, believe it or not, it's been 13 years. I joined back in 2008 when Rod Janae got the EDC started, and worked with Rod Janae and then Lester Hensley, Deborah Penta, and as the chair people over that time, and work with many of the same department heads. I guess Jim Robbins is the continuity, and we've come a long way. We've accomplished a great deal from when we were really focused initially on outreach to the business community to introducing so many initiatives. And it's really been, a fantastic opportunity. I'm really honored to have spent so much time, with these great people. And we're fortunate to have a very invested, strong town leadership. I think it's difficult for me to step down now because we've got such strong leadership in the town. The departments really collaborate, and it's really exciting to have Fred in his new position as Director of Community Development, with Zach joining as the Economic Development Coordinator, because everyone has seen already how highly professional and how invested he is. So I think it's such an exciting time to see all that the EDC has ahead, with new initiatives and a team in place to follow through on them. So I will look forward to staying involved as an ambassador and working in whatever capacity I'm able to. So thank you for that opportunity.
Bonnie, thank you. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to work with you in the past 13 years. It's amazing how far this group has come. Thank you so much for your service to the community and to this group. You will be missed in your leadership here. I know you'll still be with us, but thank you for your service.
Well, thank you, Jim. It's been great to work with a former Husky.
Yes,
Yukon Husky, for those of you that don't know, but great. Well, thank you. I think next on so do we officially need to vote on the, I guess Christy said that vote will take place in July, so there isn't a vote required today.
No, we can just reorganize with the new appointments in July. Yep.
Okay, excellent.
And Christy, just to clarify, that would be at the July meeting, the committee will elect a chair and vice chair in the same meeting, and members should be prepared to nominate for those positions, correct?
Yes, yeah. So the first agenda item on that agenda should be reorganization of the committee.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great. Next on the agenda, the EDC grant application for Smileland Dental. Zach?
Yes, and I believe we have Dimitri, who's the owner of that business establishment, on the line to kind of give an overview of their project and their application and field any questions from the committee. Very briefly, I'll say that town staff, including Fred, John, and I, reviewed this application earlier this week, and we think that it does fall within the acceptable uses of the grant application, and that all the materials are complete and professional. Fred, do you have anything else to add kind of before we pass it over to Dimitri and the committee?
Sure, Zach, albeit I don't know if Dimitri was going to speak at all. I mean, I can let him go first if you'd like, or I can speak on his behalf, either way.
You can speak on my behalf.
All right, go. Good. So what Dimitri's done is they've taken over a spot that was taken up by a different dentist, and he's expanded that operation. They're using some, and he can explain it better than I, obviously, but they do some things with some of the younger patients, and they use a lot of nitrogen. So they've installed some equipment to kind of to foster that. So their clientele will be somewhat different than it used to be. So they've expanded their operations in that sense. So we thought, looking at the application, it meets the criteria because if he's expanding his business and it's keeping it in Westborough, which is a good thing. That's all I got. I can certainly answer questions, so Dimitri can. He can answer them a lot better than I can.
Dimitri, do you want to give a little bit more of an overview of the project you're undertaking, and kind of how it will add value to your business and expand the services you can provide?
Absolutely. So thank you everyone for having me here and for your time. First and foremost, we're really excited about to be in Westborough. So just a little background. What is it? Westborough Modern Dentistry was there. I believe that during COVID, for whatever reason, they shut down. They're a California-based company. We had the opportunity through the resources and knowing the landlord there to take over the space. So I think that first and foremost, it's great that it's now local, in local hands, I should say. That's first and foremost. They were a general dental practice. Dr. Yavari, who's the dental director and the owner, he is a board certified pediatric dentist. And a part of pediatric dentists is they specialize only in seeing children. So we went from just seeing adults and family dentistry to specializing in children, specifically a lot of children that may need additional attention, more care. A part of taking care of those children, and even handicapped or special needs adults, is utilizing certain levels of sedation to allow them to get dentistry that otherwise would not be they wouldn't be able to get in a traditional setting. So that's where, as Fred noted, the nitrous and additional sedation that we have installed would allow them to be able to get dentistry that otherwise they would not be able to get in Westborough. And this is care being done all by specialists. So it's not just a general dentist, especially a pediatric dentist, go 2 to 3 years of additional training after school. And Dr. Yavari happens to be a professor at the Lagone School, which is an NYU affiliate in Providence, Rhode Island. So he actually teaches in that residency himself.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, let me back up one step too, just to locate people. The actual address is One Oak, but it's basically, this is what used to be a mattress place at the corner of Lyman and Route 9. So Chipotle's is in there, I believe it is. And so what they had done, the previous mattress place was split up. Crush, which was the exercise facility in the back end, took a little bit of the space. There's another business looking at a smaller space. And then where Dimitri is positioned is that what was left there that the previous dentist had moved out of. So anyway, just to locate where this business is so you all know, that's what we're talking about. So the original dentist came in maybe 2 years ago. It was not too long before COVID, actually.
Can you speak further to the project at hand? I think.
Sure, yeah. So we are proposing to add nitrous to the space. So nitrous is something that it needs to be plumbed, the actual system. It goes through fire, it goes through building. So it's as Fred can notate, it's been a little bit of a process for us. But yeah, so we had to retrofit it in, and it allows the dentist to have that in every room. So it's not a portable system, it's a fully plumbed system.
So the total investment of the award is the total cost of the investment?
The total cost of just the nitrous, including the plumbing and the actual system, is roughly, with the labor and the actual parts, which I submitted to Zach, I think is upwards of 40,000 probably, with the labor and everything else, all inclusive permits. And then we had to add another, we need to get another sprinkler. So we're going through that right now with fire prevention. They requested some additional things. So yeah, probably 40,000 is what we're into.
Zach, do you want to handle the discussion and vote, or did you want me to?
I don't think I can.
You can, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
legally, but
Okay, sure. Does anyone have any further questions, or is there anyone on the committee that wants to, the review committee includes, is that John?
Yeah, myself and John. I'll make a motion. Albeit Zach can help me if I screw it up this time. I would make a motion that the EDC grant grant $5,000 to pay towards the new business to offset construction costs. And there's actually an invoice attached to it. So to pay up to the $5,000 towards that, the construction cost for the nitrous system.
I would second that motion.
Okay. So for all to approve, Sullivan, yes.
Williams, yes.
Bernardo, yes.
Robbins, yes.
Steinberg, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Sorry, yes.
Rayleigh, yes.
Townsend, yes.
Keo, yes.
I think that's all in favor. Great, thank you. Thank you, Dimitri, and good luck as you move ahead.
Thank you. If you guys have any children that need dental services, you know where to find us.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great, thank you, good luck.
Thank you so much.
thank you, Dimitri.
Great. Zach, do you want to discuss the revision for Dairy Queen?
Yes, the next item on our agenda is that the owner of Dairy Queen has reached out to my office to inquire about a potential revision to the last contract that they had for an EDC grant. For committee member context, I believe that at the August meeting in 2020 of last year, Dairy Queen came to the committee to seek a revision for an EDC grant awarded on 12/4 of 2019. And they had originally been approved for a grant for freezer, tables, and landscaping, and they sought to repurpose the contract to allow them to purchase a point of sale system and 4 picnic tables, which totaled to $4,767. The remainder of the money they were approved to use on landscaping expenses. Dairy Queen's owner reached out to me, and he is seeking to, they never bought the picnic tables. And so they're seeking to repurpose the money that they would have spent on picnic tables for landscaping. And I have a statement from that business that I will read to you right now, if anyone has no questions thus far. Great. Here we go. Ice Cream Adventures, doing business as Dairy Queen, propose amending the terms of the Economic Development Committee's grant award to reallocate the $3,788.78 in unspent grant funds previously awarded on August 31st of 2020, approved for picnic tables, to instead be used for landscaping and facade improvements. As the continued state of the pandemic does not allow for us to operationally implement outdoor seating, we have diverted resources to efforts to enhance the appearance of the store and attract customers. Updated plantings and trimmings, as well as a fresh paint job on the building, will help drive us to record sales and will continue to do so. We are firmly of the opinion that these updates fit the original scope of the EDC's grant, as well as the patio furniture would have. We do not anticipate buying new tables as we are not able to safely use them while COVID-19 risks continue. We have made this decision in an effort to minimize congregation on the patio and allow for adequate social distancing. These funds will be used immediately under our new proposal and the matter thus force closed. The exact improvements include $340 in mulch and $3,448.78 for an exterior paint job. They greatly appreciate the committee continuing to work with them on their changing needs.
Okay. Any comments or questions from anyone?
Sure, I'd have a comment if you don't mind. So I think this comes under routine maintenance, to be honest with you. I don't really believe that this really comes under the jurisdiction of the grant. I don't see how this generates new business. I wholly think that it's just routine maintenance. I really don't know that that would be a good transfer of the money. Reminding the board too that this is the second time they've come to us. We've already made a concession on the original grant. So I would not be in favor of this.
Question. So thank you, Fred, for, I was going to ask the question if this is the second time they'd applied. I had believed it was the second time. What did they use the money for the first time?
Well, they were going to get some freezer, I think, originally.
I can answer that, Fred. They were originally approved for a freezer, tables, and a minimal amount of landscaping. I believe they were originally approved for about $200 worth of landscaping.
Yep.
And then they came back to the committee last August, and the committee approved a revision to their award because they did not buy the freezer or the landscaping and wanted to buy a point of sale system instead. And so the award was revised for a point of sale system and 4 picnic tables, which they no longer need.
Yep. So they actually, Jim, this is just still that same initial award. I'm curious, Zach, certainly these are improvements to the property, but as I'm curious when they actually submitted the request for the revision, because now as things are opening up, it may in fact end up that rather than, the point of sale to expedite people through the line, they might also expect eventually to want to have the tables again. How long ago did they submit this revision request?
I don't know the exact date they started reaching out because I think they reached out to Kim first,
Yep.
but it was they definitely reached out to my office within the last month, and they submitted the statement to me about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks
Okay.
ago. But it's possible they had been having conversations with Kim and her office prior to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do others have concerns or questions on the revised use of funds?
I'll just state that I happen to agree with Fred, and I think that these are not necessarily improvements to the business as was intended for the grant program, as well as the fact that I think when it was originally approved, we should have approved an initial application. This is sort of going sideways and outside the scope of what that application was. I think we did make an accommodation the first time, but I think that relative to any further changes, I would not be supportive of this.
Okay. Do you have the grant in front of you, Zach, so we look at, because I know, we were talking about sign improvements, and certainly what they're proposing is going to improve the, whether it's viewed as maintenance or it is going to improve the property. I'm wondering if there's a way that they can revise their, presentation. I thought at one point they had talked about signage, and they had a range of improvements planned.
So Bonnie, are you referring to the grant application that we have posted, or the their specific application?
Well, I'm referring to our grant as posted and what our intention is, because I thought we initially were, it was vacant storefronts and signage, and certainly being in the center of our downtown, we do want to see them invest and improve the property. Obviously we don't want them to just be using this to cover their routine operating and maintenance costs, but I think, I thought at one point they had signage, and they had a broad range of things that they were looking at doing.
So I can read to you, I think, the relevant sections right now, which is under eligibility requirements and guidelines. The first bullet point is that applicants must be a for-profit business seeking to do one or more of the following. And there are 3 points. The first is establish a new location in Westborough, including creation of a new business or relocation of an existing business that has been within or outside Westborough. The second point is expanding an existing location in Westborough, which for the purpose of this program shall mean an increase of the business's gross floor area of 10% or more. And then the third point is expand services to an existing location with the purchase of merchandising equipment, furniture or fixtures, sign or facade improvements, or building code corrections. And then under approved use of grant funds, which I believe is the other relevant section, it says that approved uses of grant funds can be interior renovations, including walls, flooring, ceiling, lighting, bathrooms, kitchens, etc., merchandising components, like shelving, counters, menu boards, displays, retail and food service equipment, like a grease trap or cash register or point of sale system, furniture and fixtures, rental assistance reimbursement, which only applies to new locations, not for existing locations that seek to expand, sign and facade improvements, which it says, e.g. accessibility improvements such as ramps, exterior signs, awnings, energy conservation for windows and doors, painting and planters and landscaping, parking lot surface improvements, and then code compliance.
Mhm.
It says that grants cannot be used for any of the following, which are working capital, purchase of inventory, salaries, wages, and bonuses, and then sideways or public walkways.
So this is Pete Allen. I am a non-voting member of this group, but I have been aboard for a while, and I specifically remember the discussion when the picnic tables were under consideration, that in fact, an investment in picnic tables would in fact fit from the standpoint of encouraging additional business, because right now there's basically very little room for people after they've gotten their ice cream to stay and have a good time. So I heard that picnic tables are not being asked this time, but if we're coming out of the pandemic and if picnic tables do make sense again, I would encourage considering an investment in the picnic tables, but like Fred and I conveniently forgotten, I guess, the person
John.
who agreed with him, but I
John.
agree also that it sounds like maintenance, what they're looking to have covered, and it certainly doesn't seem like a viable increase in business at that location.
Okay. I'm wondering if we might ask them to revisit their overall plans. When I think about the presentations that we had, say from the town of Hudson, and the talk about the improvements in their downtown and all that they did to encourage businesses to have outside dining with tables and lighting and all the things that they did that created at destinations. I would have to think that there are things that they have planned beyond just the painting of the building. And I'm wondering if we can delegate the authority to Fred, Zach, John, as part of the committee, to work with them to come up with what we would feel would encourage the creation of a more attractive destination in the downtown. I just think it would be a business that we'd want to support given their prominent location. I don't know if anyone else agrees with me, and perhaps, based on their recommendation and their discussion with the business, we can conclude, how we proceed. But I'd like to see us, find a way to support them and get them to make a more significant investment that would make this an attractive destination. And maybe that, given how things have evolved so quickly in the past couple of weeks, maybe the picnic tables are again back on the table. But I don't know. That's my thought. I don't know if anyone agrees with me, but I'd like to delegate that to Zach and Fred and John and the committee to find a way that we feel wouldn't satisfy our needs. Do others want to contribute or comment?
I would agree with you, Bonnie. I think that if they would come back and reword it and we could relook at it, I think that'd be a great idea.
And just for my reference, as I go back to them and kind of relay the feelings of the committee and recommend changes for their application for revision. What do committee members feel like they would change to warrant a more enthusiastic response from the committee?
So why don't you just restate the eligible uses of the grant fund and let them propose items that fit those purposes?
I think that you could also say that given the fact that they provided that statement prior to the lifting of restrictions, the committee is interested in whether or not they're newly interested in purchasing the tables at this time.
Okay, I can do that, but just one more point of clarification, which is which of the uses that they outline in their revision are not acceptable uses for the grant program?
Is it the painting that people, Fred and John, is it the painting of the building or the increased investment in landscaping that you are concerned with?
Yeah, Bonnie, to be honest, I think it's both. The landscaping originally, when it was changed, it was a very minute amount. It was a couple $300.
Mm-hmm.
It was just coincidental to what they're doing. Whereas now they're looking at that as a more of an investment. And the painting is, even if it's the whole building, I mean, you have to maintain the building. It's not, I get the facade change. So if they're going to propose a major facade change or something, that would make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's both.
Sorry, Fred.
I'm sorry, Zach. So I think what you proposed, Monty, is great. I think Zach and I can help them do this. We can reach back out to them.
Okay.
One, we should find out if the tables are off. I'm not really sure. It does seem like that doesn't make sense. It actually means, it almost sounds like they're going backwards on that. I don't know why they'd not want to propose the tables. So maybe we just need to reach out to them and have a better clarification of what their end game is.
Okay. Yeah, I just think that investment in the downtown restaurants and and ice cream would be in line with what we're trying to encourage in downtown development.
Yep.
So,
I think also it's worth noting, just as we, in future meetings consider revisions to the EDC grant application and its program structure, that I think in terms of eligibility requirements and guidelines, based on what I read, that it would not be eligible because I think they have not made a very clear argument as to how this either expands their services or expands their footprint in any way. But it does say under approved use of grant funds that under facade improvements, e.g. painting is acceptable, and as well as planters and landscaping. So the items that they say are technically approved uses. And maybe the conversation, Fred, that we have with them going forward is they have to outline explicitly how this grows their business in a meaningful way. Is that the right read?
Yeah, I think so. And I think to Bonnie's point, I think it's just that we're trying to help the businesses throughout town and certainly downtown. So it just warrants more of a conversation. We probably should have not brought it to the board originally, but at least now you get feedback from the board, so now they can go back to them. So at this point, I think it's just you either can table it or continue it until next meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone want, do we need to file a formal motion to assign this task to me and then table it for a future meeting?
I'll make a motion to delegate the authority to Zach and the committee to revisit the business's plans for how they're going to further develop their business downtown and use the EDC grant to leverage their investment in the redevelopment, and for the subcommittee to come back to make a to present the expanded and revised plan. So Sullivan, yes, based on that vote, that recommendation.
Well, I'll second the motion.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you.
Leonardo, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Townsend,
Rayleigh,
yes.
yes. Sorry.
Robbins, yes.
Williams, yes.
Eo, yes.
Steinberg, yes.
Sorry, yes.
Great. I think that's all in favor. Okay, Zach, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Kim was going to discuss the cessation of the governor's order with the virtual meetings. I don't know, Zach, if you're going to cover that or if Christy is.
Kim had told me earlier today, she's actually attending a ribbon cutting for a business that's opening in Westborough right now.
Oh, good.
And she had said that Christy, if you could speak on the implications of the governor's order, that would be great. I could also cover if needed.
No, that's fine. So the governor has lifted restrictions effective last Saturday, and so he's rescinding or ending the state of emergency effective June 15th, which means that after that date, we would no longer be able to meet virtually, and so meetings will resume in person. And so there is legislation that has been filed that would extend the ability to meet virtually till September. I have not heard that legislation has passed yet, and so we would resume in-person meetings for your July meeting.
Great, thank you. Okay, Zach, do you want to present the action plan for the EDC goals?
Can we just talk about our meetings for July? I know,
Certainly.
I just want to bring up, when we went virtual, we changed the day and the time. Is that something that we all want to continue with, or do we want to go back to I think in the past, we used to have the first Tuesday of the month at 8 a.m., I believe it was. I'd just be curious as to what works well for people and what the preference is. Personally, I'd like to go back to the 8 a.m. if we're meeting in person. I'm kind of open to a day. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
So for me, I guess the question would be, where are the meetings going to be held at, and how long will the meetings be if it's going to be an 8 a.m. meeting?
I believe in the past, the meetings have been held in Memorial Hall at Town Hall, and the meetings have traditionally still been, I think, an hour and a half, Scott.
Okay, all right. So it'd be 9:30, we'd be finished.
Yep.
So from town staff standpoint, I'll say it that we're in, at least I'm indifferent. I assume that town staff kind of is. I think it really should be what works better for the business owners out there, all you that are employed outside of town. If Tuesday mornings work better for you guys, then I would think that would be okay. How about Linda, Todd, what?
I like mornings.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I do as well. That would be my preference.
Yeah, that worked for me as well. I'm wondering about July, though. I think that is the July 4th week. I don't know if we have difficulty with attendance that week. I know I do.
I'm around that week.
Here.
So what do we need 4 voting members present? Is that what we need?
6.
We need 6 voting members? Okay. So how many do we have that week? And should we consider moving to the next week I'm not around.
Yeah, unfortunately, I am here that Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, July 6th.
Right.
I believe I'm here as well.
Yeah, I'm available.
I'm available.
Thank you, everybody.
So I think, Todd, what you're recommending is Tuesday morning at 8? Does that work well for you? Okay.
If
Effective
everybody
July
else,
6th.
if that works for everybody, I guess it would be the 6th at July 6th at 8 a.m. at Memorial Hall.
Yeah, we'll just have to check on the availability, but I would think it'd be okay.
Okay.
Zach, what if you typically you would reserve the Tuesday mornings, for the next 6 months or? Okay.
I can, make sure that it's available and reserve the room for the next 6 months or a year, whatever works.
Yep.
Okay.
Great. So I will plan on seeing you all in person in Memorial Hall on July 6th.
Yeah, you're not done yet, though.
No, not yet. Not yet. And I believe now might be a good time to transition to the action plans for the outreach, or not outreach, action plans for EDC goals.
Yes.
Just 1 second while I share my screen. Great. So I'll run through the document kind of quickly at the beginning, and then I'll kind of go back to pages where either people have feelings or feedback, or where I think input would be most helpful. At the end, and we can maybe spend more time on each. Great. So as we remember, or many of us will, not Sean because he wasn't there, we approved 4 goals for the EDC at our last meeting for the fiscal year of 2022, leveraging the LRP for downtown revitalization, creating and executing an outreach strategy, reviving the ambassador program, and assessing the EDC structure and its procedures. Over the next 12 months, this is how I would envision at a very, very high 30,000 foot level, these shaking out. I imagine that each of these goals will have a bit of a planning phase, a bit of a preparation phase, and a bit of an execution phase. And some of these will vary depending on the initiative. So for example, outreach has a much larger planning phase because there's a lot more upfront work that needs to happen before we can really start getting into a rhythm on business outreach. Things like, for example, creating the business directory and outreach list, aligning on what our different key messages are for different types of businesses, building our kind of packet of value proposition of the town to various businesses, new and existing. And then others like LRP for downtown have a much longer kind of execution phase, where we've actually done a fair amount of the planning in the diagnostic phase already. And so from August onward, we'll be really trying to focus on implementing the projects that come out of that, and doing that in a rapid way such that our businesses can feel that impact quickly. Does anyone have any questions kind of here before I move on? So for goal number 1, this is kind of an overview of the deadlines that we have set with the consulting team on this LRRP initiative. So the planning phase, or what remains of it, should be wrapped up by the end of June. The preparation phase, which is kind of, working on the design for some of these initiatives and, syndicating them with various folks, and then, completing, kind of final project plans will take place throughout July, and it might bleed a little bit into the beginning of August, maybe the first week. And then execution, because this is a local rapid recovery planning program, the state is really encouraging municipalities to try and hit the ground running and implement these projects within 6 months or less. And so I would envision that hopefully we have implemented the top 3 or top 4 kind of projects from that effort by December, which might be an ambitious timeline, and can kind of double back on this later. And if we need to revise any of these dates or move them around, I think now would be the time for the committee to provide input on that. And then for our outreach strategy, there are 3 phases. I have not yet aligned dates to them because we will be kind of digging into this once the LRP planning effort is closer to complete. And this is a page I think that you all have seen before. where for planning, some of the things that we'll need to do is, update and maintain our business list and business directories, that we actually have contacts for existing and, potential businesses to reach out to. We need to align on our outreach plan. And this is something I've actually been working on a little bit with Karen Henderson over at Westborough TV as we collaborate on the Why Westborough video. And then we need to start leveraging CoStar and, logging in and coming up with lists and prioritizing those lists of who we're going to reach out to over the next month, 3 months, 6 months, and so on. And then for preparation, we have a lot of marketing materials. I think some of them could use an update. And so we are going to need to take some time to update those materials, make sure that any stats or facts on them are up to date, make sure that we're celebrating our latest and greatest achievements as a town. Similarly, we're going to have to do the same for our promotional video, which I'm working on with Karen Henderson, and she'll be able to provide an update on that later in today's meeting. And the website. I'm actually, currently underway on updating the website, and there are, as you may know, I've been reaching out to you all for bios and pictures. And so if you have not already responded to that, please do so as soon as possible, because it's important that the community knows who its EDC members are and how to contact them. But the website and uploading that is kind of an ongoing preparation thing, because it would be great to be able to have that ready and, to be able to send people links or QR codes to the website and any outreach conversations that we have going forward. But in order to do that, we need to make sure that our website is in, good enough shape that, we want to be able to point people at it as a resource and make sure that all the information there is the latest and greatest and up to date. And then for execution, a lot of this is going to be kind of like an ongoing cycle where, maybe monthly or quarterly, I would check in with the committee, or the ambassadors can check in with the committee, and we overview kind of what we've accomplished and how many businesses we've reached out to, and what the outcomes of some of those conversations are. And then additionally, there are other facets of execution that we will need to kind of do on a regular basis, like distributing a quarterly newsletter. I know was something there was a lot of enthusiasm around, and other communities, I think, have very good examples that we can kind of borrow to implement that. We had talked about kind of hosting some more outreach events. I know that we had previously done the business breakfast, and COVID, kind of put a damper on that, as it did to many, of our outreach events. And so kind of bringing those back and coming up with a regular cadence for those, be it quarterly or annually for some events. We need to do that as well. And then regularly leveraging our social media to post news and program opportunities, as well as something that we should do. And I would like to set a goal for myself on the number of kind of social media posts and engagements that we have, maybe every week or something. And then as well later, I have an idea for a potential social media program that I'm going to be working on over the next month that I'd love to share with the committee, but I can hold that off until other business. Any comments or quick feedback here before we move on to the next section? For the ambassador program, again, I've kind of set some pretty tentative deadlines here. I think that because we will be kind of figuring out the LRP and our outreach strategy over the next couple months, those are the big kind of buckets of work. I've tabled the ambassador program until a little bit later in the summer. I would still like to get it kind of rolling by September or October. And I see as the planning phase, some of the big buckets of work is submitting kind of a formal memo to other town departments and to you all and the EDC members on the operating guidelines for the ambassador program. So just kind of codifying some of the conversations that we've had over the last couple of months about what we want the ambassadors to do, how we want them to do it, and what kind of tools they will have in their toolbox in order to have meaningful conversations with businesses that will establish the town's value proposition and what the EDC is here to do for them. And then probing for questions about growth plans, development kind of as needed and as a secondary objective. By August 30th, I would like to kind of start working with EDC committee members and various town staff and other community leaders to identify potential candidates for the ambassador program. Pete and Bonnie, are great first starts, and then we have to double back with some of our, some folks who have been involved with the ambassador program in the past. But I think to get this program to the scale in which people have talked about and envisioned, we will probably still need to recruit some more ambassadors, and it would be great to get people's heads together to try and identify a potential list by the end of August. And then September, I would like to try and finalize an outreach tracker for these engagements. I think some of the things that I've heard in our conversations in the past have been that the ambassador program was great, but it wasn't always tracked as well as it could be in terms of what had happened in a conversation, what the outcome of that conversation was, and when they were planning to reach out next. And so I would just like to kind of create a kind of template or that I will maintain and keep on what happens at each of these conversations and what the plan is leaving each of those conversations. And obviously we need to have that drafted and then syndicated with you all before we kind of start kicking off these conversations in earnest. And then for preparation, once we decide kind of who we might want to reach out to in terms of ambassador recruitment, we actually need to recruit those people. And then I have a big red XX there because it's not I'm not, and I don't think we're not totally decided on what that number has to be or what it should be. And I'd be curious to know if the committee has any strong feelings for what the size of the ambassador program should be. If it's a group of people we want to keep pretty small and pretty close to the vest, like maybe 5 or 6, 7, or if it's something we want to have like I guess a big reserve force of ambassadors who if I coordinate a meeting at any time, we know that we can get 3 people from somewhere to join. Those are kind of 2 different objectives and would require 2 different ways of kind of sourcing new ambassadors. And then also kind of before and maybe as we start having some of these initial outreach conversations with our new and revamped ambassadors, I want to work on some meeting guides for these that kind of outline very explicitly, here are some kind of questions to ask, and here is the Westborough toolbox of every potential asset that we have to say to businesses, this is the value that we're adding for you, and this is something that we have that you might not know about, like here is how you get involved in that. But I think because that process and that guide will be informed a little bit by some of the conversations that we have with our ambassadors, I think that it's a more iterative process that will begin as we start having some of these conversations as well. And then onward for the kind of run rate part of this program, I will be coordinating a number of engagements per month with business in Westborough. And again, I kind of left a big red YY there because I think it'd be great to get some committee input on what the right number of those engagements are. If we're aiming for kind of the short, smaller, maybe longer, more prolonged discussions with a lot more follow-up, might be a number closer to 10 or 5. If we're looking for, just, trying to, breadth versus depth, I guess, it could be a number, 20, 25, something like that. We can double back on this, and I'll give you all an opportunity to provide input in just a second, but we can get to goal number 4, which is, assessing EDC structure and operating procedure. And there, I think a couple big buckets of work here is one is I want to kind of conduct some outreach with committee members and with town staff on the EDC structure and processes, like member onboarding and, just codifying some of the things that we do and how we do them, like Kristen's great new roll call voting method. And so that will require some outreach and, talking to you guys and seeing how things are done in the past and whether or not, we want any of those to change. Given that those conversations as part of this kind of planning phase, I will, kind of codify a draft operating model or draft set of procedures and policies for the EDC, which I will, syndicate with you all at an EDC meeting and, make any proposed changes that you desire. And then, we'll finalize that operating model based on any changes and then start working on a draft structure for an onboarding packet. So, something that I've noticed over the past couple months as we've had, a few people join us is that we don't, to my knowledge, have anywhere some, codified overview of, kind of the role of an EDC member and the expectations that I think could be pretty helpful for members as they join. And I'd love to do the same thing for the ambassador program as well sometime down the line. Then for prep, on my to-do list is still to identify, and I think this will depend on any kind of procedures or changes that we're seeking to codify about the EDC's operating model. But I think it would be great to complete a presentation for the select board on any of these proposed changes and the operating model, and then receive select board support for any changes that we might make. And then additionally, we will need to determine whether or not select board support is sufficient to actually implement those changes, or if we might need to submit a warrant for any changes to town meeting in March. When we would also kind of finalize the onboarding packet once we have sign off broadly that the operating model as we codified it and with any changes we might have made is acceptable. And I think that is the last slide in my presentation. I will go back to this page and allow you guys to have just a second to kind of look it over again and just, take an opportunity to say, oh, Zach, I think this is taking way too long, or Zach, I think, this date doesn't make sense for this reason, doesn't align with the fiscal year, something like that, and provide input here. And then, I'm happy to jump ahead to the ambassador page and talk about, some of those XX and YYs that were there and what your feelings are on them.
Zach, I guess I'd want to make one comment on the goal number 3, the ambassador program.
Yes.
You have kind of late in the process deciding how many engagements per month and early on deciding how many ambassadors. I think, frankly, that's reversed. I think you can't really determine how many ambassadors you want or need until you decide what your appetite is for number of business engagements.
I think that's a great point, Pete. Thank you for making that. I will be sure to kind of flip the order of that kind of as we work on implementing this. Do you, Pete, have a perspective on what the right number of engagements is based on your experience? I don't know personally historically, how many engagements were happening during the peak of the program. So if you have anything to opine there, I would much appreciate it.
My recollection is that we started with half a dozen ambassadors, and we started with a pretty good appetite for the number of engagements we were going to do. But our part-time EDC coordinator at the time got involved in so many different things that the important role of deciding who should be called on and when, we started not getting that direction. And we got to the point where you're down to just me as an ambassador because I'm able to handle all of the engagements because there aren't any.
You're an engaging guy.
So I think that is why it is so important to decide that, and also recognize that that is going to be, if it is a priority for the committee, that it is going to need the time, your time, to basically direct people as to where to go and how often.
I'll just comment on, from the past, one thing, way back when we first got started with outreach, we'd schedule a meeting, and it might be, I would go as an EDC member, and then there would be the town manager and Jim Robbins as the planner. And, there would maybe 3 or 4 of us. And then as time went on, it actually reached a point where the idea was to have some of the members and ambassadors, private sector members and ambassadors, go out, and based on the discussion, to come back and then engage the appropriate town department heads, so just to make the best use of their time. So I think it might be helpful to identify how we want to go about it, so that you can, get people out there. And then whether, Zach, you'll actually be the one scheduling it all, or whether you'll say perhaps to Pete, you take all of the, the restaurants and service, or, whatever it happens to be, whatever targeted industry, and go ahead, here's the list, you can schedule and go, meet with them with a couple of other people. I think some of those things might be helpful to get things going, but, that's just from my experience, how we kind of attempted and, and failed in really launching. But I'll certainly defer to, to Todd and others on how you want to go, how you want to proceed with it.
Yeah, I do think that it's tough. Like, how do you, allocate time for each person, especially it's, the ambassadors are donating their time, and obviously Pete has been phenomenal, and his the amount of time he's donated to the program. But I think some of the hope, and maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, but the hope is to get some people involved that are in the business community, local residents. They may not have as much flexibility in their schedules to be able to meet with various companies. So that's going to be a challenge for us. So I think it's something we're going to have to take a good look at as we proceed. I don't know that we need to necessarily decide on it now, but I think we should kind of go at it with an open mind and see what might work best, depending on who we get for ambassadors too. I think that's going to help dictate how much involvement they'll be able to have.
There's definitely been interest, even recently. There's probably 3 or 4 people that have approached me. And I think the idea of the ambassador program initially was, how do we leverage the number of members that we had on the EDC, knowing that we had a lot of professionals within the town that had development and business expertise that we could, similar to what we were witnessing in Marlborough, how they had such a large group of ambassadors or, spokespeople, that we were trying to find a way to engage people. So it could be as, an example might be a business that has had a great experience working in the town, and we might just pull them in on a meeting with another company so that they can speak to their experience. That might be a more limited involvement, as an ambassador. And I don't know if everyone gets called an ambassador, or, there's many ways to move ahead with it, but just some thoughts. So, well, I think, Zach, you've laid out, you've taken some very high level goals and put together, a plan that puts a lot of thought. And I'm sure, seeing the way you operate, that you're going to find a way to keep these things moving forward. So I think, as Todd pointed out, much of it's going to evolve as time goes on, but I'm confident that you're going to continue to revisit how to keep it moving forward. So I think it looks great. Does anyone else want to add to all that Zach has put together? And we can also thank Alan for getting us started with the surveys and, all that he did to initially identify the goals and to give us that focus. So I think, you've picked up on what Alan started, Zach, and done a nice job.
It was a great start. So that made it a lot easier. Before we moved on, actually, from this topic, I know we're running a little late on time, but I did just want to give an opportunity for discussion around the outreach strategy. Specifically, I think something that's missing from this, presentation that I put together is, kind of how to engage with kind of the bigger corporate and industrial, businesses that exist in Westborough, when there's something that they, don't like about the town. Like, how do we find ways to capture that kind of feedback as well, is I think the question I'm asking. Because I know that we've gotten some feedback from a few major folks in town recently about a few items, and I want to make sure that we are not ignoring them or not creating opportunities for them to have their voices heard in the future. And I know, Bonnie, I think you had some things to say about this as well. So if you want to tee this up a little bit for the committee.
Sure. I think, I think there are a couple things Zach is alluding to. Todd and I received a letter from Chris Egan, Caruth Capital, in response to the climate action plan. And part of the discussion on the climate action plan was how do we engage the business community, because we're representing the business community, and how do we make this, how do we advance the plan in consideration of, having it work and, be pro-business and not be, restrictive. So we want to find a way to engage the businesses to share their feedback. There were other areas as well that, that we want to get feedback from the business community on things that may, add time and expense to their development, and making sure we're listening to the business community, but also, being respectful of what the town's trying to, the town's goals in the various departments that we have in place. So what's the best way to do that? Do we have, surveys? Do we have forums on various topics where we, we engage in? For example, years ago, we did the EDSAT, Economic Development Self-Assessment Survey, and we invited the business community in to share their thoughts. And there may be things like that that we want to do. Todd, I don't know if you want to comment further.
No, I think you summarized it well. I think we need to, there are a lot of subject matters that we do need to reach out to the business community and get their feedback on. And it's something we've discussed in the past, and as you mentioned here, so.
Yeah, I think the goal of outreach is to listen to the business community. And then when we have the significant issues raised, we want to be sure we remain competitive and pro-business, because that's our role as the Economic Development Committee, to represent the interests of the businesses. So
thank you, Bonnie and Todd, for kind of adding a little bit more color there. I think given the time, we should keep this in our back pocket for this meeting, and kind of chew on it, maybe over the next month. And I'd love to make some time at the next meeting to maybe discuss folks' ideas on how we might incorporate that into our outreach plan as well. Does that sound like a good plan to everyone? Great. Then I think next on our agenda is I think one of the more fun items on today's agenda is the 18th Annual Mass Econ Economic Impact Awards. Bonnie, do you want to explain a bit?
Great. Yes, so as everyone, or some people may be more familiar with this than others, but the Economic Development Committee is a member of Mass Econ, and we pay an annual membership fee, a public member fee. I think it's $1,000, and that entitles us for an annual membership, representation at events and all. Mass Econ is a public-private partnership. It's a nonprofit that looks to promote Massachusetts as a location to locate, to expand. And one of the events that they have each year is the Economic Impact Awards, where Mass Econ has been in existence for 28 years. They've had the Economic Impact Awards for 18 years. And what they do is they divide the state into 5 regions, and Greater Boston, Central Mass, Western Mass, Northeastern, and Southeastern Mass. Westborough falls into Central Massachusetts. And all of the, within each region, private and public officials can nominate companies that have completed expansions within that past calendar year, so January to December. And so we have had, as Zach distributed, we've had several awardees. The latest we had was in 2017. Cumberland Farms was the recipient of the Gold Award. Each region has a gold, silver, and bronze awardee. And then what happens is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, everyone comes together in Boston, and there are about 350 to 400 people. And it's kind of like the Academy Awards of Economic Development. The governor speaks, there's an MC, and it's very exciting. I think it's fantastic. I mean, because it brings together public and private officials throughout the state. It's not limited to just companies in Greater Boston. And you just hear from a range of industries, all of the exciting things that have been successfully completed over the past year. So for this year, the last November of 2019 was the last official economic impact award. Last year in November 2020, MassEcon did a corporate heroes, and they recognized companies that stepped up and did something very unique in response to the pandemic. They did a video, and the governor spoke on the video. They promoted the various regions of the state. It was really a very successful program. This year, as a result, the companies, the Economic Impact Awards reflects companies from January of 2020 through December of 2021. So it ends up that, we've been fortunate in that time period that we had a lot of activity. We had some major expansions that were initiated or have since been completed. So the idea would be following the criteria that we can nominate these companies, and the deadline for the nomination is June 18th. So we've got 2 weeks, and we can look at different criteria, recommend companies, and then decide whether there's, one or three, or whatever the town wants to nominate. So Jim Robbins probably has the most experience in this for the long haul. I'll turn to Jim if you want to add anything. Have you attended the event, Jim?
In the past, not the recent ones, which the most recent one was 2019, I think, right?
Yep.
They didn't meet last year. I attended in 17. I believe we had a winner in 17.
Yes, Cumberland Farms.
Right, and that's why I attended. My thoughts on this is we do have two star companies in town that either received occupancy in 2020 or have partial occupancy in 20, and we'll probably have a full occupancy in 21. And the first one I was thinking of is Olympus, who received an occupancy, and Fred can correct me on this, in either December of 20 or January of 21. They're a job creation company, 250 jobs, plus they're a medical device innovation company. And the second one, of course, is Amazon Robotics. And this robotics facility here in Westborough is the largest one in the United States. So I think that that's a very good nomination. They're only partially occupied right now. They're in phase 2. They'll be bringing more employees, and Fred can tell you more how many people are actually there right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the third company that I had identified as well was Stellus, because they were further, earlier on. But I think it's worth, those are 3 that I thought we would want to look at and determine whether in fact you nominate 3 companies or look at how they stack up against one another, because there's jobs, square footage, dollar investment, as well as what's their commitment to the community. What types of things do they do in addition to, being a state-of-the-art industry and, offering a lot of jobs and investment? Are there other things that they've done to support the community or their employees?
Question on that. So I have a question on that, Bonnie. Since you've been involved in this so many years, how much weight does the involvement in the community carry?
I believe there's percentages applied to all, but I can't say whether it's, each one is 20%. I can see if there's a little better answer. Just so everyone knows, I'm the vice chair of MassEcon, so I am involved, but I'm not, that wouldn't mean I would be part of the judging. So the judging is very, they're members of MassEcon that are chosen and put on teams. So I wouldn't be part of a team, that would, favor our companies. So, but I can ask if there's a weight that's applied, to the different social impact and diversity and inclusion relative to, versus the jobs and the square footage and dollar investment.
So I don't know much about the profile of the workers at those three companies that have been mentioned, but as far as participation, contribution to the community, I think Amazon Robotics has been very much upfront that they wish to help the community, everything from walking trails, bike trails, to traffic studies and improving the Otis Street corridor. They've been very proactive with that. They're also encouraging their employees to ride mass transit and providing last mile shuttle service from the train station to their facility at 50 Otis Street. So, I mean, they've had probably a higher profile in terms of working with the community. The other two, Olympus and Estellas, if they are, I'm unaware of their efforts.
Yeah, well, certainly I think Olympus has been with, when you consider Caruth Capital's investment in the West Park Drive and the trails and the, the roadway and all, I think that that's all investment in the community. I'm not as familiar with Estellas. I don't know, Fred, you're probably the closest to Estellas.
Yeah, in what respect, Tony?
Just with familiarity with the project, the profile of the jobs and their commitment and investment in the community.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be committed to the community, I guess. They're going to be creating jobs. I mean, they haven't, I don't think they've fully opened. They're kind of, they started opening during COVID, so they're kind of like in a limbo stage, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I know their contractor, is it
DPR.
DPR seemed to be interested in doing, getting engaged in the community.
Yeah, which they did. They actually helped build the pavilion down on Chauncey Lake.
Mm-hmm. So what is the best way to proceed? I don't know if anyone has any other companies, because I think during this time we were fortunate to have these three, and we did run into this issue when we were looking at the nominations for companies that received awards at our January 2020 town annual review. We talked about companies, and I think there may have been a few others that had completed expansions. Does anyone have anyone other than those three that we should be considering?
Yeah, sure. Why not Interplast? Scott could talk to it, but they've,
Okay.
their roof, they put on a new production line. They're looking to expand past that. So.
Okay. So maybe what we do then is does anyone have any others?
I mean, I appreciate, I just don't want it to be a conflict of interest. I was worried that's the reason why I didn't, about Interplast being a conflict of interest. I mean, I appreciate the recognition. We do a lot for the community, and we are growing, and we're going to add, at least 24 more new jobs. So that was the only concern I had. I appreciate Fred recognizing us, and I appreciate the recognition for the board, but I didn't know how everybody else would feel about it. So that's why I didn't, talk about Interplast and the things we've done.
Well, your involvement we wouldn't want to not, I think we would be objective in looking at the company just as we would with each of the others. So I guess if maybe we take the four companies, unless anyone has any others, and we maybe we can delegate once again to Zach maybe we set up a subcommittee, but we delegate to Zach to look at the criteria on the Mass Econ's application with jobs, square footage, dollar invested, and then their investment in the community, as well as any policies that they have on diversity and inclusion, and then see how they stack up against one another. And then in the meantime, I can reach out to Mass Econ and see if there is anything more formal on percentages as to how they weight the different items. And then we can and as well as how many companies we could nominate, because I think we're unique in all that we've had. We are fortunate in all that we've had completed over this past couple of years. So maybe with that, given the deadline is June 18th, maybe I don't know whether we do a vote through email or we delegate that to Zach and a subcommittee or something, to evaluate the 4 companies and decide how to proceed based on the weight and the number of companies we would potentially nominate. Does anyone have any other suggestions on how we move ahead with it? Given that
I would say that because it's a public body, I don't believe that we can vote over email, especially after June 15th, when the governor's order will lift,
Okay.
preventing all suspension of open town meeting law. But
okay.
I would suggest that maybe a subcommittee might be the best thing. That would mean that we still would need to post the agenda for that meeting and post minutes for that meeting. But if we did have a subcommittee to review this topic before June 15th, they could still meet remotely, which would, I think, make the process easier.
Okay. What do you think, Todd?
Personally, I think it's going to be tough for a subcommittee to meet. We only have 2 weeks, really, is what it sounds like, or less than that.
Yep.
So I don't know. Why not just, my feeling is I'm up for voting and nominating all 4. I don't have an issue with that.
That's also an option. I think, again, pending, confirmation that there's no cap on how many nominations the town can make. I'm happy with that conclusion if that's the committee believes is right.
A quick question. So if we nominate all 4 and then say one's awarded, the ones who aren't awarded that are partially complete on their plans, could we forward them again next year?
Well, one of the keys is the timing of their completion. So I think the position we're in, it actually goes through December of 2021. So there may be a phase that hasn't yet been completed, for example, with Amazon, with each of the companies where they're at, the timing of their project. So, and then we nominate them all, and then we get feedback from Mass Econ if any one doesn't fall into the guidelines. But I think that's a good suggestion, Todd. So Zach, that would look to you and maybe a subcommittee to basically profile each of the 4 companies and prepare the application. So it would.
Do we want to have a formal motion and vote on that? And then, I can do that.
Okay. Okay. Jim Robbins, do you want to make a vote, formalize a vote?
Jim, you're on mute. No worries.
Sorry about that.
Just think, in 15 days, none of us are going to have to do that anymore. That'll be a thing of the past.
That's right. I'm rushing it. It's like taking the mask off. So I would recommend for Mass Econ, I would recommend that the Westborough EDC submit the following companies for the Mass Econ 2021 awards. Astellas, Olympus International Corp, and Amazon Robotics.
And we also had Interplast.
Oh, and Interplast. Sorry about that, Scott.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Sullivan, yes.
Robbins, yes.
Leonardo, yes.
Townsend, yes.
Steinberg, yes. Steinberg, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Yes.
Sorry, yes.
Rayleigh, yes.
Great. So maybe we keep it informal, Zach, that maybe you reach out to individuals on questions that you have as you are preparing the application. And I, for one, will do the reach out to Mass Econ and get some information for you there on the percentages and any limit on the number. But I think otherwise we'll just, we'll be able to see the profile of each of the companies. So it will involve reaching out to the companies as well to have them on board with being nominated and to gather additional information. So Great. Well, that will be, that as I think Zach mentioned, that is a fun project. And what happens then is we nominate them during the summer, usually in July. MassEcon creates these judging teams, and they go out and meet with each of the companies in each of the regions that have been nominated. And then in September, the companies make a pitch, like a 1-minute pitch presentation to all of the judges, and then the winners are selected and they're recognized at the Tuesday before Thanksgiving at a luncheon, which I think the goal is to have it in person, but given the number of people at it, I would assume at this point, given how quickly everything's opened up, that by Thanksgiving, we probably are in a position to have something like that. So, we're definitely in a strong position, and it results in strong recognition for the town to have all that development within the community, and it's a great opportunity to collaborate with other municipal and private businesses. So we're getting a little tight. We took more time, but I think very importantly, the Why Westborough video. I don't know, Linda, if you and Karen want to update, or Zach?
Right, I'm happy to take it unless Linda wants to have anything.
Nope, Karen, go for it. I was just going to say, I think Karen's going to give the update.
Okay.
Great. Okay, great. So thanks. Zach and I have met a couple of times now, which has been great. I always leave those conversations very invigorated and ready to promote all the good things going on across Westborough. So those are really fruitful and just get our creative juices going for what we want to do with this video. Some of the progress to date, I'll be quick. At Westborough TV, we've been gathering footage. Again, the spring was a beautiful time to be getting some of the sights and sounds that we have outlined in our storyboard. One of the things Zach and I have talked about is just kind of the dual use for some of that. So that extends beyond Why Westborough, where we'll have B-roll and things that he can be using on the website, and kind of like a library of footage. So that will include drone footage, and kind of a little bit of a tangent, but one thing that I've connected with Zach on is some of the places that he'd like drone footage of, where maybe there's a new business coming in, or land that's just been sold. Some of the things that we might be able to package around, like, hey, Westborough, this is what's going on, or good news, somebody's moving in this building. And you get a little bit of that drone footage, and maybe that helps us with some of the announcements or promoting it, or just, again, getting people in town excited about it, or the new business owner feeling that pride. So at Zach's request, we did get a few different parcels around town recently, and I've let him know that as things come up, if it's like, oh, you know what, let's get a shot of that, either before, during, or after development, we'll be doing that. So just another connection, maybe extends a little beyond Why Westborough, but I think that Westborough TV can be a good partner in that way. So we'll be taking some of that for the Why Westborough video. Some of the action items and things we've talked about is, Zach doing some mapping with distances to figure out, how far exactly are we from airports and cities and colleges, and being able to look at a little bit of that for some of the stats we want to incorporate in the video. We've talked about, again, Zach's going to review some of the drone footage we have already to see which pieces of that we might want to bring into the video. So we have a whole library of that he'll be taking a look at. And then the latest thing was Zach talking about interviewing candidates. So providing them with some statements, could you please say something to the, something like this statement, or would you be comfortable with this statement? Because we really we want people to be natural and genuine, but we also need our points to be made. And so there's that fine line when we're dealing with somebody in the business community. It's fine if we say to Jim Robbins, hey, Jim, here's what we want you to say when you're talking about Westborough. Jim's going to be on board. Great. This is what we should say. But when we're talking with some business people, we can't just say, hey, say this about Westborough if they don't really believe it. So we just want to make sure that it's genuine and something that they're in line with. But along those lines, we talked about interviewing people, kind of that location in their workspaces. So either having, you know, a place where we could go and some of the more professional, maybe we have a similar background, but for some of the smaller businesses, getting that kind of sights and sounds in the background. So rather than having them in the studio in front of a curtain or something, just to kind of give that vibrancy feel again of having them on location. So Zach will be working on a little bit of who's that list of interview candidates that we'll be reaching out to. So we talked about that a bit. We did talk about some of the creative kind of graphical representation. You know, how are we going to make our videos stand out a little bit? A lot of these videos that we've seen have some similarities, and we talked about a little bit of how we can kind of brand it throughout with something a little bit different graphically. So we talked a little bit about that, and at some point you guys will see some of that. I think that's all I have on my list, unless Zach can jump in with something else.
I think that's a pretty comprehensive overview, Karen. Does anyone have any questions real quick, or should we move on to the planner's report?
Great. Can I just make one
just
more?
wanted to mention how fortunate we are to have the partnership with Westborough TV, not only for videoing all of our meetings, but just their professionalism and, you know, their finished product is just such a, you know, a real, you know, asset that we have for the town. So thank you to Karen and her team.
Yep. Thank you so much, Bonnie. I have just one more quick thing along those lines, just to let you guys know, we'll be making an announcement, but our Go Local Westborough that we did last fall, the first one we did 2 of them, but the first one, we did win a national award for that. So we're about to receive a Hometown Media Award. It's done by the National Alliance for Community Media. And there's thousands of entries in a lot of different categories, but they end up with about 100 winners at the end after their thousands of entries. And for that video, we got a first place. So I am really happy. We haven't, I don't think it's Westborough TV. I'm not sure that we've ever won one of those before. So that's a big deal in our little PEG industry here. And
That's
I thought
Karen.
yeah, really happy about it. So we'll be making that announcement, but I felt like that's another thing that, you know, again, maybe on the EDC website, we can kind of brag, like, look what we did, look what we as Westborough have done for that business community. So I thought I'd let you guys know. The award ceremony is at the end of the month, but very, very proud, very happy about that.
And Karen, you'd be comfortable with us sharing that on the website before the award ceremony, or do you want us to wait? Because I'd love to get that up there as soon as possible.
Yeah, you know what? We weren't supposed to say anything until June 1st. They're kind of tight-lipped about it. So
Awesome.
I just got all the promotional material, so I can send you like the exact wording for what we can put out there and the little stamp of approval and all. It's a pretty big deal for us.
That'd be great.
I'm excited.
Yeah, please send that my way. Thank you.
That's great. All right, thank you all. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Karen. Jim? Jim, do you want? Go ahead, Jim. Oh, not sure. Jim, did you have anything you wanted to report on?
Sorry about that. Well, let's see. Master plan's moving right along. We're in the very final stages of that. The implementation matrix is the last stage. Departments and groups and the master plan advisory committee have submitted their final comments on the implementation portion of the master plan. And it is now being incorporated by the consultants. So we expect a draft plan within the next couple of weeks. This board will receive an electronic copy to review and comment. The presentation will be made to the Board of Selectmen after it's made to the Planning Board. And there'll be a comment period for 2 to 3 more weeks beyond that. Then all the comments will be incorporated. The plan eventually will be presented to town meeting for endorsement, not approval, but endorsement. And there's a difference there. The town meeting doesn't actually approve the plan, so someone can't stand up and say, I don't like Chapter 5. What the idea is to get the voters to endorse the concept of the plan, and a presentation will be made at town meeting for that. I had a question for Zach. Zach, you and I had talked earlier today. You want to refresh my memory about the one you wanted me to report on?
If you had any updates on, 25 Research Drive,
thank
based on the conversation you've been having.
Okay, thank you. So most of you know that BJ's headquarters is going to be moving out of 25 Research Drive. They're taking space in a neighboring community. The space is going to be vacant. It's not vacant right now. It will still be paying, BJ's will still be paying rent there for several years beyond the time that they vacate. So for the town's purposes, it'll still be fully evaluated for taxes, which is a good thing. However, the space will become available. Jones Lang LaSalle is representing the property. They have reached out to myself to just discuss what zoning possibilities there are. So they're trying to get educated so that when they speak to prospective either buyers or lessees, they understand what the advantages and disadvantages would be for a proposal. They obviously want to be educated to know what the best type of business is to attract. And they have promised us that when they get a very interested hot lead, that they would reach out to our general review committee and come in with a concept plan for us to review. There's nothing to report at this time. They're just doing their research.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Okay, any other business?
I have a few things to just report on. I'll try and be quick, and then we can vote to adjourn. I have a few updates on businesses in Westborough. One is Rax, also known as Rangine Corporation, which is moving into the Shakur building on Turnpike. They pulled their demolition permit and are starting to work on that. I believe their goal is to open up their manufacturing part of that facility sometime early in the fall. Additionally, a new business called My Office. I believe they're like a flexible, affordable workspace for businesses. They've opened at 33 Lyman Street, and they're actually having a ribbon cutting ceremony with the Chamber of Commerce right now, which Kim Foster is attending. Regarding the LRRP, we will be having 3 design workshops for projects in the coming month, I believe after June 14th or June 15th. And there's no expectation that anyone shows up to all 3, but if you'd like to participate in the design process of that effort, all EDC members are more than welcome to attend. So I'll keep you posted on those details as we continue to confirm them. Regarding the ABCC and its requirements for outdoor dining service for alcohol, we are still waiting on the status of the bill regarding an extension to that suspension of the ABCC's normal process for outdoor service applications. A bill was submitted to the general court by Governor Baker a few weeks ago, and we're waiting to see what the legislature does with that. Fred and I have sent a letter to restaurants kind of outlining how this process will change going forward, with or without the legislation. And then regarding downtown beautification, if you haven't been to the Rotary recently, the planters are up. And I can actually provide a brief update on the status of that account right now, which is that currently in that account, there is about $10,000 in the downtown gift fund, $9,845 to be specific. This is before we have reimbursed Maureen Johnson for the planters and the soil and the flowers, which total $1,006. So once we've paid that out and deducted that, the balance of this account will be closer to $8,800. Additionally, I would like to provide an update on the grant program and the status of that account. Currently, there are $94,788 in unencumbered funds in the account, and there are additional $10,000 in encumbrances for the EDC grant that we awarded to the COOP at our last meeting. Since this year, we have issued $2,711 in purchase orders, one of which for $1,500 went to the Cork and Grain, and the balance was paid out to Dairy Queen for the part of their award that they had decided to seek reimbursement for. And then the $40,000 of revenue from the billboards was received in March. And I'm told that we can generally expect that from in sometime in that January to March first quarter window. The top level highlight of this knowledge is that for the EDC grant program, I do not believe that we will ever be in the situation where we are awarding funds that we actually don't have liquid cash to reimburse immediately due to the $40,000 limit that the EDC can expend annually. So there's always going to be a sufficient buffer for the committee there. Additionally, regarding the Rotary Club, I did have a meeting with the Recreation Department and Rotary Club Committee on the holiday stroll, and planning for that is already underway, looking for a very good event for our business community at that time. And then Rotary is also kicking off an event called Beer BQ, which they're hoping to turn into another event that could help promote and create opportunities for local businesses. Specifically, they talked about trying to get the Coop, which is a new barbecue restaurant moving into the old Subway location, involved with that. And so I'll keep you all appraised of that situation as it evolves. Finally, regarding the Coop, there is a meeting with the EACC on June 14th that myself, Fred, and Angelo, the owner, will attend regarding their Massachusetts vacant storefront program application. And then lastly, on social media, I am planning a feature series for every month of the year for some of our businesses. Some will align with more codified, months, like, for example, Black History Month or Hispanic Heritage Month or Asian American Heritage Month, which actually just passed. It was May. So I would like to every month showcase a bunch of businesses that pertain to a topic like that, or maybe 1 month is Restaurant Month. And then we send out like solicitations for folks who want to get featured, or we make posting on social media, the website, and around to source potential features like about a month or two in advance, and then just kind of run on a continuous timeline. Okay, next month is this theme, sourcing things for the following month, that kind of situation. So I just want to let you guys know about that. And then finally, again, if you have not submitted your bio or picture to me for the website, please do so at your soonest convenience. And that's all I have.
Okay. Zach, thank you for taking us from such a high level and strategic, planning and goal setting down to all of these initiatives and plans to implement them. It's just so impressive. It's as if you've been on board for a couple of years. It's amazing. So I think
I did have one last announcement while you're talking. I was thinking about it. I just wanted to personally thank you, Bonnie, for all the support that you've given to me over the last couple of months. It has been. I know, as you say, it seems like I've been here for years, but that certainly would not have been possible without the great structure that you and the other committee members, but under your leadership, have put around me to succeed. And so, I have very much enjoyed the small overlap that I've had with your tenure as chair, and I really look forward to working with you in the future as an ambassador and in any other capacity going forward. So, thank you for your great service.
Well, thank you, Zach. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Sullivan, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Robbins, yes.
Townsend, yes. Thank you, Bonnie.
Sorry, yes.
Steinberg, yes. Steinberg, yes.
Yes.
Haley, yes.
See you in July. Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you, Jim.
Take care. Thanks,
Yep.
Bonnie. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you.